Hello, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. I always appreciate you. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Talking about another great classic black and white film, this time around a movie that came out in 1958. I'm talking about Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. This stars Charlton Heston, Orson Welles, and Janet Leigh. And, it's very controversial that Charlton Heston played, a Mexican in this film. At the time, for the 50s, there weren't many actors that they were going to cast in this part. They weren't going to get Cantinflas, Mario Moreno. They weren't going to get Desi Arnaz, so it really doesn't bother me. And I know that being half Mexican, maybe it should bother me, but, we got Charlton Heston, and seeing as how he brought a lot of, dignity and a sense of refinement to his performance as this policeman in the film, I can't get upset about it. It was the 50s, that was the times, so had this been, made in the 90s or something, it probably would have been, Andy Garcia in this part. It would have been a Cuban guy in the part. So, whatever. You know, the guy was in Ten Commandments. Charlton Heston, he was in Planet of the Apes. Uh, he was in Wayne's World 2. Can we get a better actor? I know it's a small part, but we can do better than this. Remember when Wayne says that? And he comes out of the corner, around the corner. Gordon Street. Oh, yes. I once knew a girl who lived on Gordon Street a long time ago when I was a young man. Love Wayne's World too. So, yeah, I'm not mad at the whole Charlton Heston playing a Mexican thing. I've gotten over it. So, and his scenes with Wells, they're really awesome in terms of two great titans, two awesome actors of their generation going head to head. It's the stuff that a lot of movies are built on. A lot of premises are built on. Like the idea of two actors going at it. Like a Crimson Tide. You get Denzel versus Gene Hackman. Sorry, Gene Washington. Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman going at it, or like a Heat, Michael Mann's Heat. Pacino versus De Niro. So that's very much how I look at Touch of Evil when I think of Heston versus Welles. And considering Welles directed this film, he paints himself in such a negative light as the antagonist in this movie. He is a corrupt cop. He's a bigot. He's sort of sweet on a woman. You could tell this woman that he knew from the old days, played by Marlene Dietrich, who runs this, I think, sort of a saloon brothel place. Marlene Dietrich, very great actress. Love her in Witness for the Prosecution. And, very good character actress. And she makes a great appearance in this film. She has a couple of short scenes. And, this is just a thriller that still holds up to this day because of the way this was shot and the way this was edited. And I have not seen the theatrical version of this film. I've only seen the version that was re-released in 1998, because in 1998, Universal Pictures, the studio, decided to basically honor Orson Welles' wishes. Back in the day, he wrote a 50-page memorandum to the studio asking them to please put back the stuff that they had taken out when they released this theatrically. And when this came out theatrically, it was an hour and a half. The version that Welles had envisioned was almost 2 hours. And that's the version that I decided to watch, since that's the version that is his preferred version. So, naturally, that's the one I'm going to go with. And it's just a terrific outcome. His shooting style is just not something that you will see in movies of that time. He uses angles and just lighting techniques that really enhance the moments. His editing is fast paced. The movie, it's a very brisk, hour and 50 minutes. And it's a very dark film. This is definitely a noirish style film. So I don't mean just dark in terms of the look, but the themes, in the film. There's a lot of sort of sexual innuendo. There's, risque moments. There's, sort of in insinuation of drug use, and even mention of different kinds of drugs that they flat out name, in a few scenes. And for the 50s, this kind of stuff was pretty cutting edge for the time. This was very ahead of its time when this came out. This movie was not widely acclaimed at the time. It was very much considered by many critics and audiences to be sort of overly violent, overly stylized, and just basically style over substance, which is why many people couldn't latch on to this story back then. But by now, because this movie is so ahead of its time in terms of the filmmaking techniques, and just that entire aspect, and how progressive you have having a minority, a Latino as well. Charlton Heston, I guess, playing a Latino, but still for this time, we got, I guess, some kind of appearance of a representation. And on a technical side, this movie just being so brilliant, this eventually became a cult classic, and by now it's considered a 4-star masterpiece by the great Orson Welles, who I guess originally did not want to do this movie, but he was under contract, and originally Charlton Heston brought him this project. So this wasn't going to happen with any other actor playing the Charlton Heston part. So like I said, I made my peace with that. He played it. It's fine. He does good in the film. And yeah, Orson Welles as the corrupt cop. There's a lot of moments where, yeah, he will make you sort of detest his actions, and some of the stuff he says, you just remember, hey, he knows it's just a movie. I mean, he's the one that directed it. But I love that they, for a 50s movie, they shed light on things like that. They shed light on police corruption and, prejudice, and, knowing that there were artists back then that were trying to, put some of this stuff out there in a mainstream Hollywood film. And, this movie still, as a thriller, really works. It often reminds me, feels of sort of like a John Dahl 90s type of thriller. John Dahl directed a great 90s thriller um, starring Nicolas Cage and Dennis Hopper, a film called, um, now I'm not going to remember now. Oh, sorry, Red Rock West. Great thriller. And this movie really does give me a John Dahl kind of vibe in that regard. He also directed another thriller that has similar kind of vibes. Always does like southwestern type of thrillers. Um, Also did the movie Joyride. So yeah, John Dahl, not Roald Dahl, the children's author, but yeah, that style that he uses very much reminded me of Touch of Evil. So yeah, this movie definitely has um, a lot of style, a lot of flair. That if they remade this today, it'd probably be, you know, I don't know, like a Harrison Ford in the Charlton Heston part. Though I don't think they'd get Harrison Ford to play. They wouldn't like dye him all, make his skin look, or give him makeup to look all dark and stuff. That wouldn't fly nowadays. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Andy Garcia. They always get a Cuban to play Mexican these days, or a Puerto Rican. But they got to get whoever they can find, I guess, right? I mean, Antonio Banderas has been playing, Mexicans forever, and the guy's Spanish, so we take what we can get. You know what I mean? But either way, Touch of Evil, highly recommend it. It's a Universal Pictures film, so I think I did see it on Peacock not that long ago. But for some reason, streaming services always kind of pull movies out every now and then, and if for some whatever reason you can't find it, Blu-rays, baby, they're out there. Hard copies, can't go wrong. Every now and then, the streaming apps sort of glitch every now and then, and you get the out of sync mouths, not in sync with the dialogue. So that's why I keep a hard copy. And yeah, Touch of Evil, 1958. Check it out if you like a good thriller. As long as it's well made, doesn't really matter how old it is. Great art, stands the test of time. So if you watch the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. check it out. And yeah, till next time, please be on the lookout for more of these reviews. I'm always talking about this stuff, these old films that, nobody really seems to mention anymore. That's basically my mission in doing all this, is to spread the word, get awareness out there about these old relics that just don't get enough attention anymore. So, as long as I do that, you guys be on the lookout for these if you're in the mood. Share, like, subscribe, comment, and, I like to answer as many comments as I can whenever I do get one or two. So, yeah, thanks a lot, you guys. Appreciate you hanging out. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, till next time. God bless everybody. Peace.